Image-obsessed Daphne is at least similar to her old self, but the problem there is that they slightly changed things up. In the original series, I could say it was a little ambiguous why Daphne was there. She seemed less into the mysteries than everyone else, and maybe seemed like she was there mostly for Freddy, but, that wasn't for sure. There was a good chance she was actually legitimately wanting to solve these mysteries. In the new series, though, not really. She really is just there for Freddy, to get Freddy's attention, and he keeps ignoring her, and that's her whole thing. And I kind of don't like that. It flattens her out. I liked the idea that maybe she was into these mysteries, but no, it's just all about Freddy, and Freddy's whole kettle of fish into himself. Velma, oh Velma. I dare say they might have screwed Velma up the worst. If you remember, she was kind of the dowdy, brainy one of the original series, the one most likely to put the whole mystery together once all the clues were in. And it was a little bit thankless, but we respected her for it. And keep in mind, she really loved solving the mysteries. I wouldn't be surprised if in the original series she was the one who organized everyone at first. Got everyone on board this whole mystery solving thing. Of course, we don't really get an official explanation for that. Here, though, she really seems like she's not into solving mysteries, and like it's annoying to her. It's more about debunking the town's crazy, haunting tourist scam, and that's kind of weird. Her intelligence comes less like a genuine researcher, and more like she just likes to lord it over everyone. Just be arrogant. And I honestly can't think of anyone who's like that. And, like Daphne, Velma here is primarily here for Shaggy. And that's kind of odd. I guess if you look back at Scooby Doo Where Are You, there are a few hints that maybe there was something between Velma and Shaggy. Like when the teens would all go to a dance, of course Freddy and Daphne would team up. And then, kind of by default, Shaggy and Velma would go off and dance. And I never thought much of this because it seemed more like a Pair the Spares situation, and it was not really ever brought up much in later Scooby-Doo. And it seemed like an idea that dropped, but it's back here in full force, and it's really weird. The show even seems to be pushing this idea that Shaggy's going to have to choose between Velma and Scooby-Doo. And that's odd and kind of inappropriate, because we all know that Shaggy's main relationship has always been with Scooby-Doo. And the show keeps constantly showing that he doesn't know how to respond to Velma's advances. But that maybe he would consider being into it if he got used to the idea. After all, she is a girl. But even more fundamentally than that, she's another consenting human being, so, you gotta keep your options open. And then, of course, there's Freddy. And I kind of love to hate this Freddy. On the upside, he's voiced by his original voice actor, Frank Welker, same guy who's been doing it all these years. So that's worth quite a something, isn't it? On the downside, his character has been flattened and parodied and, to borrow a TV trope's term, flanderized beyond all recognition. It is kind of horrible. Freddy kind of has that problem. In the original, he was the most straight-laced guy, the de facto leader. He drove the mystery machine most of the time, organized things most of the time. He was just the leader guy, and otherwise didn't have much of a strong personality. So when people go about reinventing Scooby-Doo, they look at what's there, which is little, and then try to add what they can. In this case, the main focus is on his famous traps, his Rube Goldbergian traps that he uses to trap the monsters. That has always been a Freddy trait, but now it's like taken to an extreme. He almost literally fetishizes these traps. He's got a Traps Illustrated magazine where bikini women show off Rube Goldbergian devices, and he has to say that Daphne only reads it for the articles. And you know what? I bet he does. I bet he really does only read it for the articles based on how he's looking at Daphne. He gets her alone in a room and he shows her a scrapbook of traps. Do you get me? Puts a monster trap outside his own front door. I mean, gee. But fortunately, while this traps thing is the main thing going on with Freddy in this series, it's not the only thing. There is a kind of much more subtle character thing going on with him that I think is a lot funnier. The guy seems to be really devoted to the Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated status quo, which seems very appropriate given he's the original voice actor. He just doesn't want things to change in this group. He just wants to ride around in the mystery machine, solve mysteries with these other guys and the dog forever. And I can kind of appreciate that from him. Ultimately, that's all we want to see happen forever, too. But I like how it takes it to silly extremes. So the teens are all in high school in this series, and at one point Freddy makes the comment that after they graduate high school, they're all going to move into the same house together. And they're still going to have to split it up by boys' rooms and girls' rooms. I mean, that's ridiculous. And it's silly, but I can appreciate it. Because it seems like on some level, if we want to get meta about this, he might be the only one who's at least sort of aware he's in a Scooby Doo cartoon, and is trying to act accordingly. But so, we got all these silly jokes. We got these new and so-called improved characters. What about all the mystery solving and the clue collecting? Where does that come into play? Not until the third act of both of the first two episodes. That's right, setting up all this new stuff, the classic Scooby Doo stuff, gets shoved way back into the last corner. Which I think is going to be a major problem, because so far the series is playing against the own inherent strengths of the Scooby Doo franchise, rather than into them. You know how I said this was option 2, like a tweaked version of the original premise? If they're not careful, and if they get too far away from these mysteries, they're in very much danger of going to option 3, which is just being an entirely different thing. And yes, I can understand the desire to reinvent the characters and the situations, to refresh it for the ongoing years, but you have to know what you're going to refresh and what you're going to redo and what you're not. They've been reinventing for Batman for almost 70 years now, and, even in all of that, Batman always fights crime. You get me? Scooby-Doo, he's in danger of not solving mysteries anymore, and that's what he's got to do. But the show isn't all bad. When it's funny, I do think it's funny. Some shows have been known to improve past their first episodes. So I'm going to keep an eye on it. So we'll see. I hope you keep an eye right here too, because next week I'm hoping to do something Batman related, since I brought it up. You might have a little idea what I mean. Alright, see y'all next time.